Hello everybody, and today we're going to be shaving. Wait, this? No, we're going to shave the drip rails on the 69 Camaro behind me. What are y'all thinking? All right, like I said, today I'm going to be shaving the drip rails off this Camaro. And before I get too carried away, as usual, I want to thank everybody for following along. Appreciate you jumping on this video and giving it a watch. So we're going to get right after it. But anyway, I've got the front clip back on the car, and I've been working out a lot of the fender and door gaps, as you guys seen in previous videos. I also have the hood back on it, and I've got the gaps looking on really good on the hood fender and the front header. So now I have been procrastinating, I guess, on shaving these drip rails on this car. For why, I don't know. Maybe one, I've never done a set, but anyway, it's time. I got to get on this thing because there's only a few things left, and this car is actually ready to go to the body shop and start getting some of the body work done. So anyhow, if you're not real sure what I'm talking about shaving these drip rails, basically this channel is a factory edge that is put on the car to shed all the water to where the water will actually run off the front and back. Now, granted, if the rain's coming down crooked sideways, it's not going to help much. But these things, this type of a car, they look, in my opinion, they look really good, especially when you're going with a big glass kit like we are with this car. So anyhow, I'm going to get set up. And I can show you another car up front that actually has this done already. So I'm gonna get set up and we're gonna get after it. All right, real quick, I'm gonna show you on this 68, and you guys will see a little bit more of this car, I don't know, in the coming weeks or so. So anyway, you can see the oversized glass kit that's been put in this car, and then the drip rails have been shaved off of this. So you can kind of see the streamlined look that we're gonna go for. They look really, really nice, gives us a really clean look. Most of these cars, you're not gonna drive these in the rain. So pretty much it's just a styling cue. You can also see, like I said, it's got the big glass kit in the back. So that is the look we're going for. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like. And I'm gonna get set up and we're gonna get after it. Okay, I'm gonna start on this A pillar. For the most part, this piece, it actually is screwed on, and they've got some glue sealant that they put in here. So these just unscrew, and then you have to kind of pry them off. But I believe I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting this here. I do have a little bit of lead that I'm gonna have to remove right here. That's not gonna not work really well whenever I start MIG welding over this. But between that and then back here on this quarter panel, the quarter panels are designed, I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but the quarter panel is designed to, this lip actually welds to this drip rail, and I don't have that welded at the moment. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and cut this away from here down, and then I can figure out how to do this, because this quarter panel and the roof, there's basically a roll right here, and I'm trying to decide whether or not to incorporate that roll or if I want that panel flat and smooth. So anyway, I'm gonna get this lead out of the way, and we'll get after this A pillar, and I'll start cutting this away and making some tacks. So here we go. Okay, I cut a section out so you can see right here where it's gonna start to gap. And that's actually good because that'll give me a spot to get a really good penetrated weld into there. So I'm gonna stitch this up and just kind of keep working that down and get to here. Also, this is a prime example of the lead and how moisture gets up underneath it. You guys saw me heat this section up, but you see how rusty that is underneath that lead. So moisture gets underneath there and then it starts corroding and you start having issues. So if you are doing an older restoration on these cars, it's a good idea to try to get all that lead out of there. It's okay if you go back with new lead, but you just need to get it prepped. So I'll wire wheel this up real well, and I'll more than likely fill a lot of this up with metal. So anyway, just wanted to share that. So got a couple of spots here. It was you can kind of see it's pitted in some areas. I took a pick and tried to poke through some of these holes. It seems fairly solid, but this is the roll that I was talking about, and I don't know whether or not to try to mimic the 68 up front and make this come straight down, which means I'll have to build a whole new trim piece for this. So anyway, thought I'd cut in for just a minute and I'd share that. So we'll keep working on this A-pillar. All right, there's the finished product for the A-pillar. Turned out pretty good. It's very smooth. I got a good roll in it. Worked it down with file. It looks pretty flat, looks pretty straight. So in all fairness, this is probably the easiest section of this to do. So I figured I'd kind of get this part done, and then once I start seeing the progress on here, it'll flow back off into this back end here. So like I said, that looks, I'm really pleased with the way this looks. It looks a lot like what the car is up front. So I think now I'm gonna start working this. Actually, I think I'm gonna jump back here on the rear quarter and I'm gonna start cutting this section away. So, and I may even go ahead and cut a small section out of the center of this so I can kind of see how this is all gonna fit together. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do next. So come along. Okay, with the flat part of the drip rail cut off this back section here, I went ahead and I bent this down. And you can see how that thing is shaped. It welds in behind the quarter panel in the roof skin, and it's angled a couple of different ways. So I think if you look real close, you'll see a Sharpie line that runs down through here. So I think that is the actual contour that I want to go with, where the quarter panel meets and then it flushes in. So I'm gonna trim this back. I might also have to trim right through here. And if I trim this and cut this section off, that will allow me to get in here and I can hammer and dolly that out. And almost at that point, I can make a new piece that will go in there. So I think that's my attempt, and that's what I'm gonna try to do. So we'll get set up and we'll do that. All right, after studying this thing, I think I'm gonna do this just a little bit different. If you'll notice, hopefully you can see this, but this right here, this is the drip rail edge that I hammered and dollied flat. And you can see the gap, the distance between, you can see the distance right there between, this is the weather stripping and that actual piece of trim, or excuse me, the drip rail. So also when you look down here, you'll see that this is the inside of the quarter panel. And I really want to have, for the most part, I want this whole area to be flat all the way up. So I think looking at this from a different angle, I'm gonna cut this off and I'm gonna end up making a whole new piece to where it makes this whole flange area nice and flat. So just kind of, like I said, I've never done one of these before, so just kind of studying things as I go. But I think I'm gonna change it up just a little bit and go a tad bit different direction. Okay, now that I've got that piece cut out, I went ahead and I cut this out, and I went down through here and I put some tacks on the basically the flange of the drip rail piece. It's not going to go anywhere and it's not going to support any structure, so just kind of put it in there that way it's solid and it doesn't come back to haunt me. Also, I put me some more chem dye on here, and I marked off the weather stripping to kind of see where the inside of that flange is going to set. So I made this flange. This is actually 1/8 inch steel, and the thought process on this is basically the width of the width of the quarter panel down here is about 5/8 to 3/4 of an inch, and it's going to taper down up in this area down to about 1/8 of an inch, and that 1/8 of an inch will carry all the way to the front of the car. So I figure if I'm able to weld this on the structure to kind of give me the inside flange, and I've got a lot of room to weld on this on the inside, then this will be a very good solid piece of metal to start with. So anyway, I cut this out and I put a little bit of a radius in it with my shrinker, and I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get this thing tacked up in here, and we'll see how that goes. And once that's done, then I'll continue building out the pieces back here in the back. All right, with what felt like an eternity to make, as you can see, I've got a piece of metal. I bent it and then I shrunk one side and I had to stretch the other side. There's two rolls. It curves this way and it curves this way. So I've got this piece pretty close. So I think now I'm just gonna set this thing up here and start getting it fit into place and start making some tacks on it. And hopefully it doesn't pull anything, but looks pretty good to me. So we'll see what happens. All right, that was sure a lot of work, but I think the end result, I think it's going to be worth it. It really is going to look nice. So for the most part, I've got one small section right here that from about here to right here, this kind of got low. So I'll get a stud gun and I'll put some studs in there and try to pull that out and try to massage that one little spot. But for the most part, my taper looks good. The inside of this flange looks good. I've pre-fit the weather strip back up in there and it really seems like it's gonna work really well. So that's a nice, clean, slick look. I've got these areas in the corner. I got this all dressed up pretty nice. So I think once I'm completely done with it, I'll run the camera around this thing and do a little more of a close-up. But if you guys haven't figured it out by now, a lot of these videos, it takes me, I don't know, I have to film them, over multiple days. So it's getting kind of late this evening and I have to do my actual day job tomorrow. So anyway, I think tomorrow, I'm gonna come in tomorrow and I'm gonna start on this section up here. And if I can get a small 4 or 5 inch section off of this corner and get this thing started, that'll pretty much finish me out as far as figuring out how I'm gonna do the rest of it. So anyway, I'm gonna be back tomorrow and I'll jump right back in the middle of it. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, good morning everyone. It's a brand new day here in the shop, and so far my day job's been taken care of for the week. So weekend's here, I'm back in the shop and I'm gonna get right after it pretty quick. So as I left off yesterday or a couple days ago, I've got this, the rear section of this quarter panel. I've got this piece built. I did just a little bit of nail anchor pulling right here, and I've pulled this out in a couple of spots where it was trying to go sink in just a little bit. I'm pretty satisfied. I've got a few low areas in this right here that I'll end up dressing up, but for the most part, this I'm very pleased with. I left off the other day, I told you I think the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start up here, and I think that's exactly what I'll do today. I think I'm gonna cut back here about another good 4 inches. And I'm gonna show you here in just a second, I'll zoom in on this lip. It gives it a really nice shape, how this somewhat is the factory, the way this thing starts off coming back here with this trim. So I'm gonna get set up. I've got a little better lighting system today than I did the other day. So I'm gonna get set up. I'm gonna whittle a little bit more of this off, and I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do. And hopefully I can kind of meet somewhere in the middle with the front and the back section. So stay tuned. Okay, now that I've got roughly a 6-inch section of the roof skin cut, as you can see from roughly here to here, I have cut back the drip rail edge. So this is the reveal that I was talking about. If you'll notice how nice that tucks in, and it's pretty much in line with this channel. But that roll comes down and it rolls to the front edge of this roof skin. And really, that is a nice look, and that's the look that I want to try to duplicate from here back. So the next thing I did was this piece I had to make a little bit custom. Good catch there. But anyway, this piece, it actually tapers just a little bit, and I had to kind of work the center of it out. But that's going to end up laying in right here, and I'll come along through here and I'll tack this to the actual lip of the roof skin. And then I've got this edge piece bent here. I will start working that in, and then I will mimic this roll. So that's kind of how I want to start it. And like I said, this look right here, I really like the way that shape comes down, and the way that roof skin dresses out on the edge. I think I'm going to mimic that from this point back. So anyway, I've got these two pieces. I'm going to get them tacked in, and we'll start fitting the rest of this thing up. All right, that That looks really, really good. The transition I've got, this is extremely flat. This, if anything at all, it's got a nice curvature with the existing roof skin. And the way that transitions into this A-pillar, I am extremely pleased with the way that's turned out. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna continue that process for the most part. I'm gonna go ahead and work in maybe 6 to 10 inch increments at a time where I'll trim this roof skin back, and then the drip rail flange on the backside, I'll shorten it, and I'll just continue to add that stripping in here and get that all nice and tacked in there, and then just keep on working this thing down. So we'll set the camera up and we'll let this thing time lapse for a bit. I probably won't cut back in until I get back here, back by the rear quarter. Back in this section, it's going to be a little more tricky to get this roll again. It's has a lot more arc than the lower. And I may end up on this one, I may end up doing like I did on the front and actually take a little wider piece of strap and cut me a template piece in here. So between that and the two pieces that the roof skin edge that I bend and roll into this is going to take a lot more fitting in this area. So anyway, I'm going to get the camera set up and I'm going to keep pushing back towards this rear section, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this as much as I am, because this kind of excites me as far as I tripped over this part of this car for quite some time just because I've never done one of these, and shoot, I might line them up out the front door now. So anyway, I'm going to get set up and we'll keep going at it. Okay, it's been a little bit of a long haul getting this thing to this point, so I figured I'd build me a cup of coffee and take me a little bit of a break. But anyway, I have managed to get everything from the A pillar back to this spot right here. Also, I have the lower section done. So what I was going to do was since I feel like this part right here is gonna be the most extensive part as far as shaping this piece of metal. So I'm hoping that I can do this in one piece, but it may require two pieces to do that section there. So I thought I would stop because this was just gonna be repetitive work up here once again. So I'll get a little bit more in depth on here as far as, you know, get a little bit more up close and I can show you guys what I'm cutting out and maybe a little bit of the shaping process that's gonna be involved. So I'm gonna sit here and enjoy my coffee, and I'll be back shortly and we'll get started on this last little bit. Okay, I'm gonna pretty much do the same thing that I've been doing here and from here to the front. So I'm gonna take this Sawzall and I'm just gonna kind of cut behind this and get this part ready to trim out. Now that that's done, you can see this Sharpie mark. I'm gonna take my death wheel, as they say, and I'm just gonna cut that mark. So okay, I made me a cardboard template, and of course I made it backwards, but this has the right radius of the weather strip channel up here. So got a pretty good pattern here cut out. So I could probably take that radius, and I could probably take that 1/2 inch strap, and I could probably take a torch and I could get that bent and get this and work this out. But I think to keep from having quite so much tension on that piece, I'm gonna do it a little bit different. I've got this strap here, which is just 4 inches wide, and I'm only gonna need 1 inch of this, but this will work on the other side as well. So what I'll do is I'm gonna transfer this radius onto this piece of plate here, and then I'll get these edges cut in to where it fits, and then I'll come off of the edge that's cut with a 1/2 inch, and I will end up making that inside cut too. So anyway, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think either way would work. I just feel like this might be a little bit faster, and it will definitely have less tension. So that's gonna be next. Okay, here's another tech tip. I've done this before. Now they make some pretty neat stands that you can mount these bandsaws in, but if you'll notice, I've put a zip tie or cable tie on the trigger. Now what that's gonna do is it's gonna set my speed. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this thing in that vise upside down, and I'm gonna use this like a bandsaw, like a vertical bandsaw. Okay, there it is. I don't know, step 20, but got that thing shaped and cut, and it fits in there pretty good. So I'll clamp this here and here, and then I'll just go through here and I'll tack this just like I did the rest of this. And once I get this inner flange, so to speak, once I get it basically locked into place and get all the inside welds done, then I'll start shaping this next piece, which is gonna be a little bit, it's gonna be a little bit tough, but kind of studying, I may end up having to break it into two just because I don't want to stretch the metal that far. So between that, and I might look at a couple of different ways that I can make this piece instead of basically on my sheet metal brake, I might actually try to roll it. So anyway, that'll be next. Clamp this into place, and I'm gonna weld this inner flange together. Okay, that didn't work as good as I thought it was going to. As you saw, I put me a piece of paper on here and I made a template out of that, and then I traced that onto a piece of metal with a curve in it, ran it through the bead roller, and I think if I spent a little bit more time, I think that would, I've seen people do that and I know it works, but I guess I didn't give it enough, I didn't have enough patience with it. So anyway, I ended up taking the piece that I did make, so you can see I put a lip on it, got the curve, and anyway, I went ahead and I cut this in two, and I think cutting it in two, it kind of flared out on me in a couple of places, which I think if I slowly start to work this in here in two pieces, then I think I'll be able to get this last piece put in. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and work with this and see what I got. And anyway, we'll try to get this last piece capped out, and we'll go from there. So. All right, as you can see, I've got the driver's side pretty well completely done. I've worked a few areas over, and I went ahead and put a little bit of etching primer on it just to keep it from rusting. And anyway, I'm gonna grab the camera and I'll do a little bit of a close-up to where I can kind of show you guys the overall look. Now, I do have some areas, it is a little bit, it has a little bit of a ripple to it up here when you look down it basically from the side profile, which is normal. It's gonna be a very, very light coat body filler that will come up here. Got a little bit of a low spot right here. And anyway, I wanna grab the camera and we'll kind of pan in on this thing, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm gonna start up here on the A pillar, and one thing I do want to do, and I don't know that I'll get to it on this video, but if you'll notice where this lip of this fender comes, and the difference is that you have here. Now, one thing I'll end up doing, and I've seen other people do this, I'm going to trim this, and I'm going to bring this edge of this fender up to meet this, so then you don't see that. Once that is done, then I'll bring some material in on, and I'll fill this A pillar to where it flushes up pretty snug down here at the bottom. So I definitely have some work to do there, but as you can see, the A pillar, it looks real good. The inside of the windshield is that is fit pretty good. It's shaped. It blended really, really well coming off of the A-pillar into the weather strip channel. So it looks, like I said, I am very pleased with this side. There's going to be a little bit of body filler that goes in. You look at the taper. The taper looks nice and clean. You get down here to the quarter panel, where it's trimmed out on the quarter. It's really, really clean. And so I am pretty pleased with that. Now, one more thing that I'll do before I move over to the other side is I'm going to end up cutting a strip of metal that will fill into here, and I'll end up filling this. This is where the roof and the quarter actually meet. So anyway, that not too sure how long this video is going to get, but that might pretty much put a wrap on this one. So as I always say, I want to thank you guys for tuning into my channel, and I appreciate you watching this thing. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.